Aquí lo espero con brazos abiertos, con mi cariño y calor.
Hey, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast with strong opinions about things that we may or may not know too much about in order to broaden perspectives. Today, we have a very, very talented guest, the one, the only, the one that inspired many, Shelly Lares, Tejano Music
Hey.
singer.
Thank you guys for having me on. It's great to be here, and I'm glad I was recommended to come by my protege Monica Saldivar. No, it's an honor to be here on y'all's podcast, and I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to talk about your career. We're going to talk about your retirement coming soon. And then we're also going to talk about women in Tejano and how we can make sure to push them even higher. In the podcast, we do also have our guest co-host, Victor Villarreal. Welcome back.
Hey!
Thanks for having me back. Always a pleasure.
We also planned the hairstyle, a little comb over. His is a little more mature than mine, but
That's a little more Texan.
There you go.
Was it closer to heaven?
He needs a clearance, Clarence.
Yeah, he's on a New Orleans hangover right now. So let's sit back, buckle up, and let's go. Too hard, too fast. Boom.
Ew.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
What's up, y'all? Your girl LMD, Little Miss Dynamite, Shelly Lares, and I'm super excited to be on Too Hard, Too Fast. I don't know about the word hard, I don't go for that team, but the idea.
We'll go fast.
The podcast of the century.
All right. Shelly Lares. One thing
Well,
we
thank
ask here when we find out that somebody in our podcast guest is a from San Antonio, we ask that San Antonio question. What high school did you go to?
I went to Providence High School, which is a all-girl Catholic school. Yeah, I went to Catholic school my whole life, since kindergarten all the way through high school. I went
St.
to
John
private school.
Birchman?
No, I went to Holy Rosary. I went to St. Paul, and then I went to Providence.
Oh,
So yeah, well, I almost went to a school that we used to have called Ursuline Academy, which was now they merged with Antonian, because Antonian was a boys' school at the time. Now that's co-ed, but when I went to tour the school in 8th grade, I fell in love with Providence. I felt like the girls were kind of more like me, middle class, and just a little more down to earth. And no, I loved it. And I loved my Catholic school upbringing because I learned a lot of discipline and structure. I like that.
Were they still giving slaps on the wrist with the ruler?
Nah, they didn't do that. They didn't
That's
do that.
not a
They
true
would just
thing?
they would give us the nun eyes, they would eyeball us. But then again, I had that look from my dad and my mom, growing up. So I knew not to mess with that. But no, they actually, they were strict, but they didn't, touch us or anything like that. Not when I was in school, so yeah, they couldn't. Are you kidding? My mom would have gone over there and raised hell if that happened.
Were you raised by strict parents, like very strict, or?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say like strict in a way. I was raised, first of all, by very loving parents, very supportive parents. I'm the baby of 4. My sister before me is 9 years older, and my sister, my brother, and my other sister are a year apart from each other. So I kind of grew up like an only child, if you will, because by the time, they were growing up, they were already leaving when I was growing up. But very disciplined, yes. We don't question what mom and dad say, and no means no. And, you just do what you're supposed to do. But it was never like abnormal for us. It's just the norm. And we have very old school ways as far as my dad. He was the disciplinarian, but also the very core of he really helped mold me into the woman I am today. That's for sure.
Where are you the only child that pursued a career in music or even in the
Yeah.
public sector like this?
Yeah, I was the only crazy one to do it. Well, my family is all musically inclined. My parents both can sing. My father actually used to have a conjunto with his brothers before I was born.
Oh, nice.
My mom sang with her sister when they were younger. My sisters and my brother all can sing. My brother was more the musician, if you will, like because in high school he was in band, in jazz band, and marching band. And so I grew up watching him play guitar, piano. He was a drummer. So it just fascinated me at a very young age. I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was just intrigued by music. And we listened to everything in my household, like all genres. So, from my sisters and my brother to my parents, it's like, I mean, that's why I fell in love with Tejano music so much, because it is so many things.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I kind of, because I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I feel like your music has always just been very in our background, like in our family functions and parties, And one of the things I've always admired about your voice is your rasp. Your deep tone, your rasp. And I was like, was it a hard, because I knew early on in your career you used to do a lot of covers. Mm-hmm. But then you started, doing your own music. Was it a hard transition to kind of fit into the Tejano with that rasp? Because I don't think it was so heard back then.
No, it really wasn't. Once I got started in Tejano at age 10, which was kind of like it was a weird story how it all happened. I mean, not weird, because, God plans our path and it's the way it's supposed to be. A band that was a Tejano orquesta from here was playing for my sister's wedding in 1982. And my sister wanted me to sing a song with the band. I'd never sang with a band in my life. I was a huge Olivia Newton-John fan. Like, Olivia Newton-John was my everything. Like, I sang all of her stuff. And I love the fact that not only was she pop, but she was country. She could dab into Linda Ronstadt. Hello. I mean, she was another artist that could do all of these different things. But my voice was, at that time, it wasn't, very developed just yet. But I think it was for a 10-year-old, and for never having any kind of vocal training. I sang it at my sister's wedding, and the band loved my voice and asked my parents if I could join. So that's kind of how I started to get into Tejano and recording Tejano music. But every artist that starts out, of course, we do a lot of covers because we don't really have our own original music just yet. So that's kind of like the norm for everybody. It wasn't until after 1994 when I had my tonsils removed, because I would get really sick on the road from tonsillitis. And so when I got my tonsils out, like, I just felt like my voice just, I don't know, went to a whole different level. And I started to use a whole lot of raspiness because I'm a rock fan. I love rock music. I love Pat Benatar, Heart, Journey. And so I just, when I sing with my raspiness, it's just more of it's not so much just because I want to sing raspy. It's when you hear that raspiness come out in certain parts, that's like when I'm really digging deep into what I'm saying, singing emotionally. So it kind of became my thing. Like, everybody just kind of recognizes it now. But that again, Tejano music is really the only genre that I could probably get away with it, unless I was a hardcore rock star.
I don't know. You have some like country, and songs in there that like you do very well with, especially with, there was one I was actually jamming out to on the way while I was texting you that I was stuck in traffic. I was listening to one with Ram Herrera, and
Baby Don't Go. I think it was Baby Don't Go.
Yes.
Pretty baby, please don't go.
And you also have Islands in the Streams, which is not country, but it's still very good the way you sound on it.
Thank you. I invited Ram to be on my album in 2015, which was on Mi de Mi Corazon, and we did Baby Don't Go. I learned the verse because that's a Sonny and Cher song. And I learned the version from Dwight Yoakam and Sheryl Crow. They did another version, their own, and then Ram and I did our version, and it did very well. We won awards for that for vocal duo, and then my album went on to be nominated for a Latin Grammy for Best Tejano Album. And the cool thing is that just today, the Latin Grammys were on, and he was nominated for his latest album, Back on Track, which has Islands in the Stream. So, it's just cool how it works out. But yeah, and then when I could probably use the raspiness in the country. I think I do that too. And, my love for country music comes out too when I, in my shows, because I love country music. I've always loved it since I was a little girl.
And so one thing that caused a little bit of controversy or turmoil between me, my brother, and Monica was that Monica Salivar. I told her, and I hope it didn't come off ugly, and I don't think she took it ugly, but I was like, I'm a Tejano fan because of my family growing up. We again also heard everything, but it was my dad's family that played Tejano music. But my dad, who lived in Austin, my dad, when we were driving from Eagle Pass, where I'm from, to Austin, all we heard was country music. So that's all like my good memories. Like, because I always felt like when we were going to Austin, it was the super exciting time because my grandparents had this big old house and all that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go play in their yard. So the country music plays the part of like that happy memory of going to go visit my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
The Tejano plays of like the happiness of the parties and the barbecues and all my family in Austin hanging out. And so whenever I listen to Tejano, that's what I remember. And so I was trying to listen to as many Shelly Lares songs as I could, preparing for this conversation. But the two that I kept singing, and they're probably the ones that are mostly played on your Spotify, are Soy Tu Amor.
Soy tu amor, tu amor, tu amor.
And Ganas de Besarte.
Yes.
Ganas de Besarte, yeah.
And
Tu recuerdo sigue en mí. Tengo muchas ganas de besarte, amor.
they just like completely take me back. And so
Yeah.
I put it on repeat over and over. And I was just like, it hits that memory.
Yeah, it's so hard right now. Tejano music, and not only Tejano music, to be honest, but the whole music industry is kind of still in a weird place, because music constantly evolves, right? So when people hear the word Tejano music, they automatically put it in the past, why that is, we don't know. Because like I said, when I first started as a little girl at age 10, there was nothing but like orquestas, like, if you will, I was in an orquesta. So music like Little Joe, Ruben Ramos, that style of Tejano is what I started singing as a little girl. It wasn't until I got off on my own and I signed with my first record contract at 17 did I start implementing more keyboards and accordion into my music, because it was turning into progressive Tejano. And then, it was more progressive. That's when Soy Tu Amor, that was my first #1 song in 94, which I co-wrote with JJ Reyes. And then Ganas de Besarte in 1993 was like one of my biggest hits. It still is to this day, one of the most requested songs live. And it's crazy to see. Yeah.
The drum people yelling for it.
Yeah, they ask for it all the time. And so now we're at a point where when Tejano music was really popular in the mid to latter 90s, and then it started changing more norteño, Intocable, groups like Intocable came along, and more people started migrating to San Antonio and to Texas and into the United States from Mexico. And along with that comes their love for norteño music. Okay. And norteño fans are hardcore. I'm talking hardcore, like they will spend $50 to go see their favorite artist. They will support them 150%. Whereas our Tejano fans got used to going and seeing 20 bands for $10.
Yeah.
So, I think it was kind of like our fault in a way as a genre, if you will, that we kind of spoiled everybody. We did. I mean, it was so saturated in the 90s. It was like everybody and their mother wanted to do Tejano music, whether they liked it or not, because it was selling. It was,
yeah.
But now, a lot of the new artists are doing, including Monica Saldivar, are Tejano, yeah, but they're also implementing a lot of light norteño music, what they call light norteño, Tejano light.
Tejano light.
And that's what they call it. That's what they call it. And, or norteño light, or I don't know what they call it, but it's something like that. And
hey, you
so
can
a lot
promote
of
a Tejano light with your Miller Lite.
There you go. When I would have done that when I was a Miller Lite. I should have done it then. For me, I'm not a big fan. I don't. That's just not my forte. Okay, norteño music is not my forte. It's not. I will maybe do one or two that kind of, again, are a little bit there, but not completely. That's just me as an artist. Okay, I'm not going to do something just because it's popular if it's not what speaks to me as an artist. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I would rather not go there, because fans know me too, and they're going to know that I'm not being real to who I am and what I bring to the table. But right now we're trying to find a place again. And and speaking about the Latin Grammys, I was really pissed off actually earlier, because we have been fighting so hard for our category in the Grammys. Okay, we used to have a category in the domestic Grammys, the regular Grammys, and we have a category in the Latin Grammys, Best Tejano album. Okay, this year only 3 familiar. I would almost 3, but Ram, La Fiebre, y'all know, right?
Yeah.
Solido, they're more norteño. And Vilax and El Plan, who are 2 hardcore norteño groups.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know them.
Thank you. Made it into our category and won.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tonight, I would have loved to have seen my Tejano fellow Tejano brothers win, but that wasn't the case tonight. But what you have there's so many political things that are happening, because they have, when you go into when you're going to vote for the Grammys as a Grammy member myself, you have about 500 plus nominees in the norteño category, and you have 25 in Tejano. Well, they're going to want to come over here because they got a better shot of winning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yet they don't call themselves Tejano artists. So to me, I'm like, if you're not Tejano, or you don't claim to be Tejano, or you're not playing Tejano, then get out. I don't think you don't belong here. I'm sorry, because they don't openly receive us at all. Hardly. I mean, there's very few. You can count them on one hand, maybe two Tejano artists that are from here that get accepted into that world. But right now, that's why I'm saying Tejano is so frowned upon right now. And it pisses me off. It really upsets me, because we deserve better. We deserve better. Tejano music is so beautiful, so diverse. And it's not only Mexican music, it's American music too.
Yeah.
It is. When Eli de Reina and Stephanie Montiel and I did Las Tres Divas in the early 2000s, we were nominated for Best Mexican American Album.
Wow.
And we were up against Luis Miguel, Maná, as Tejano artists. And we're like, see, we deserve to be alongside anybody just like that, because our music is just as beautiful, or not even more beautiful, in my opinion. And I've always gone to bat for my genre, but we're in a weird spot right now. And I'm trying to kind of make the new generation see that, in this day and age, especially through social media, a lot of them feel entitlement because they're an artist. Okay.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, look, just because you're an artist Doesn't mean you're going to get played. It doesn't mean everybody's going to like, not everybody's going to like you, and not everybody's going to like your style. Not everybody is a Shelly Lares fan, and that's okay. I mean, my music may not be for everybody, but that's fine. But I'm going to still be me.
Exactly.
But, I tell them, you got to pay your dues and always cater to what speaks to you as an artist, first and foremost. I've told Monica that. I mean, like I said earlier, she's like my protege. I'm her mentor, and not only in the music industry, but in life, she reaches out to me. But, I just try to tell them, just stay focused on what speaks to your heart. And if diehard Tejano music, like progressive Tejano, even orquesta music, whatever, the old school Tejano, then implement that. Yeah. But don't just go with what you think everybody wants to hear.
That's kind of like what we had touched on, because I had posed the question, why do I hear people talking that Tejano music is dying? Like, I don't feel, maybe because we're here in the heart of it, here in San Antonio, Dallas, Austin area. Well, maybe not Austin, but Dallas and San Antonio, we have the Tejano explosion. Everything's going on. That's all we hear is the Tejano music. So to me, Tejano's not dying, but I guess I hear it a lot to the fact it's like, well, what is going on? And then right now you're painting a different picture than we talked with Monica, because Monica started now, and she's well, I shouldn't say just started now. She's big time, but she's newer to where she's seeing how people are trying to transition, where you have seen, it actually, you lived through the high time.
I lived through multiple transitions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've been through multiple changes of Tejano music, the evolution, if you will, of Tejano. And I'm glad I started in 1982, because I was playing alongside some badass mofos, trust me. Let's talk about the women that were in the industry when I started. Laura Canales, Janice Ramirez, Patsy Torres, Elsa Garcia, Selena, Linda Escobar, Lisa Lopez. There were 7 women that were in this industry, and only 7 when I started.
And only 7.
So, but if you look at all of them and their track record and see, there's so many things to kind of say that kind of took place into the downfall, if you will, or to the lack of respect that Tejano music has. And that is substance. With technology comes, everybody thinks they can do it. Okay. Yeah. Everybody thinks they can get a recording thing, and everybody's a producer now, and that's not how it works.
Everybody's a podcaster now.
No, I mean,
it's okay.
But it's not. You're talking about, when I work in the studio, I work about 350 hours per album. So I'm a perfectionist. As a producer and as an arranger and a writer of my own music, I know how I want it to sound, and not everybody has the ear for that. But now, like, again, through social media, they get these likes and they think, oh, that's it. They made it. They deserve to win awards. They deserve to be on all the charts. They deserve to, make their own records at home. And then they lose the substance of what comes out for the fans. When internet radio started coming along, that really screwed us up, man. They thought it was helping us. I thought it was going to help us, because I was like, here it is, man. All we needed was to be able to be heard on the other side of the world, right? That's what Tejano music needed.
Right.
Wrong. They came in, started all of these internet stations, and were playing crappy songs.
Yes.
Artists were singing off key. The mixes and the arrangements were just, not all of them, guys. I'm not saying every artist, okay? I'm just saying a lot of them.
Right.
And not only that, as a songwriter and as a song publisher who makes a living off royalties, when you open an internet station, you have to pay licensing fees, okay? And when you do not, we don't get paid.
Wow.
So many internet stations were coming along and not doing that. We're not being legit. So I became very vocal about that. Some didn't like it, but when I would break it down to them on the business side, because that's another thing, people want to start things and not do it from a business sense. Well, guess what? You're not going to succeed you're not going to be in this game very long.
Yeah. And was it sold as, well, they're getting exposure, so that's how they're
Yes.
getting.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But then are they, you know, one of the things I've had about internet radio is like, for example, you put in Pandora, you put Jay Perez radio. Sometimes it's like one song, the Jay Perez, and nothing else. And you know, now that you were saying like seven women artists in Tejano when you started, to be really honest, I never even heard women Tejano like on the radio until
Really?
You had to like physically or just go and ask for it. If you knew the song, you had to ask for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then, yes. Oh man, when I started, there was only man. We wouldn't hear women for shit like until we would only hear like a woman every 2 hours back in the day. Now there's a lot, and I do have to commend a lot of the women because they have stepped up their game.
Yeah.
You know, and plus a lot of them have reached out to me, and you know, I don't sugarcoat stuff, okay, but I'm not expecting them to do what I did, okay, because my journey is different than their journey. And their journeys are different from each other's. But I am going to tell them the do's and don'ts that I learned along the way that maybe I learned the hard way. And I'm trying to give them the heads up, you know, look, this is what we got to do. But as far as an industry together, right, our level of the standard has gone down so much. Even from our award shows to, you know, like I said, the radio programming, man, you know how hard it was for us when Tejano went FM. It was hard for us to get on that station. We had to work. We had to lobby for ourselves with the program directors, like to get played. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Because the program directors had a certain standard of music. And I tell the new artists, go back, listen to our stuff in the 90s, and you tell me if those recordings were bad. They were top-notch recordings. Yeah. It was expensive. But if you want something good, you got to spend the money. Yeah. And if you can't do it, then wait till you have the money to do so. Yeah. That's just what I tell them. You know, don't just do it because you just want to do it and everybody has a dream. And I get it. But at the same time, you got to be smart. Yeah. And that's one thing that we have to learn is it is a business, man. It is. It can be. You can do it as a living like I do. But it's not going to be easy. Yeah. But anything that is worth it is never easy, though, right? In the long run. My father used to tell me when I was a little girl, when I would go to the Tejano Music Awards, when I was 10, 11 years old, he would tell me, okay, mija, we're going to go into because they would have big nominees dance at the Henry V. Gonzalez. And he would be like, we're going to go in, you introduce yourself, you shake their hand, and you look them in the eye. That's what you do. So I would walk in. Hi, my name is Shelly Lares. I'm a new artist. You know, my music is here, blah, blah, blah. And he used to tell me, nobody is going to remember you by one hit and then you're gone. They're going to remember you and have respect for you for the longevity and the stamina that you have in this industry. Mm-hmm. And here I am going to be celebrating 40 years. Wow. So you see, it's been a long road, and I have seen the transition, man. Oh God. I mean, it's had its good days and its bad days, but Tejano music is my family, and it's just like any other relationship. Some days are good, some days are bad, you know. You gotta work for it. Right? You gotta work for it. But our level of standard needs to come up again. That's and we need to fight for our genre, man. That's definitely true. I feel you on that part because I feel a close connection to Tejano music because we're from Texas. And right. I'll be the first one to say I'll go up to the north, like I'll go to New York or somewhere in California, and I'm out there blaring Tejano music because that's what it, you know. Yeah. You were talking about that you liked, country music and that you have good memories. When I recorded in Nashville in 1996 through Sony Music, and I recorded with Vince Gill, one of the top artist of country music ever. I recorded with Vince Gill.
Which, by
I
the way, I will say I've tried to find and I could not find the song.
you
Like,
should
or
well
come up,
what he
but
is on. If you've heard my song Siempre lo esperaré, which was aquí lo espero con brazos abiertos, con mi cariño y calor. He's singing with me in Spanish on that song. That's him in the background. He sings with me on Blue Bayou. He sings with me on a song that I have on my Shelly album called You're All That I'm Living For. He also sang and wrote a song for me on the same album called Blame It on Love, which is
that's
more of a
okay. That's where I thought I heard him from.
Blame it on love, darling.
But when I was looking at the video or the description, he wasn't like it didn't have the feature. So I was like,
yeah,
there's no way there's no feature.
no,
on
he's
it.
always on. He's only on the actual album credit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the album credit. But he was on all over that Shelly album in 1996 at a badass studio called Soundstage, and they have room A, room B, room C, and I was in room B. Room A was Trisha Yearwood. Room C was a guy named Ty Herndon, who was really big in the 90s. And we were mixing my Tejano stuff there too in Nashville. And everybody, even Trisha Yearwood, everybody came in when they heard our Tejano. They were like, what is that? We like, they didn't know. But because why? Because they hear something similar. They hear maybe the country feel, the Texas in us, right?
Yes.
Or Tejano music will always, any genre, any freaking genre that comes into our genre, will hear something similar. Reggaeton, mariachi, country, jazz, salsa, anything, you will hear something similar in our genre, because that has been our blessing and our curse. Tejano music has been so many things. And because it's been so many things, corporate America doesn't know where to put us.
Yeah.
I'm wondering right now as we're talking about the fields, because also the thing that I grew up with, obviously, listening to country, jamming out country, the only Mexican probably in my town that was jamming out country from their truck. And I got dude, you know how brown you are? Like, why are you listening to that? But
it wasn't it. I mean, you're from Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from Texas. It's there. It's just like we're influenced by conjunto or things like that. I mean, mariachi. I mean, it's just.
And so what I tried to explain to them, and I could never for the longest time until I guess they finally moved away from our small border town, that they understood what I was trying to explain to them is that, Tejano and country, they almost sing about the same things, broken or lost love, broken heart, or partying, whatever it is, it's almost the same thing, guys. It's just
absolutely.
Yeah.
I use Willie Nelson as an example a lot because my brother listened to Willie Nelson a lot. So I loved his music. I loved when he did the album from the movie Honeysuckle Rose, where it had On the Road Again and all those songs, right? My brother always listened to that album. And but what I love about Willie is as an arranger of music, we have what you call pickup notes, where it goes dun dun dun, right? Whether it's in a conjunto song or in a ranchera, tra, 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 it's their pickup notes, what you call pickup notes, and you always hear that in Tejano, whether it's a ranchera, whether it's a cumbia, a conjunto song, and Willie writes that way. Like his music, there's a song called Angel to Flying Too Close to the Ground or something like that. And he has da-da-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun. And you hear that. And those are pickup notes that we implemented in Tejano. So people don't realize how really meshed we
There's
are.
There's a vast history.
Yes. People don't know. And you know how frustrating it is, because even as we were talking about the Grammys, Do you know how hard it is? You even said it right now. You're like, what do I tell them? People ask you, like people that don't know Tejano, like people in the, in the Grammys, they're like, well, what is Tejano? Try explaining it to someone.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's Tejano.
Easy. How do you explain it? You're like, well, what do you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
shit. No, you almost. So I think I would have to probably like get several artists and play it for them and get different instruments to make them understand, because like we were talking about norteño and tejano, I'm not bashing norteño, okay? I mean, I'm not saying that it sucks, you know what I mean? But it is very different from tejano.
Exactly.
Accordions especially more. I'm not going to say there aren't any tejano accordionists that don't use Gabinelli, but majority of norteño artists, accordionists, used Gabinelli. Majority here use Horner accordions, and the sounds are very different. Mm-hmm. So, I had an amazing meeting with Matthew Knowles, Dr. Matthew Knowles. If anybody doesn't know who that is, that's Beyonce's father. I had a meeting with him a few months ago because I wanted to pick his brain on a couple of things that I was kind of wanting to know where we could help Tejano. And he himself asked me, well, what is the difference between Tejano, Norteño, and regional Mexican? I'm like, well, Norteño and regional Mexican are the same thing. That's the same thing.
That's my 23andMe, regional Mexican.
But it's like, how do you explain it? Yeah. And why are y'all doing so many things? Do just one thing. I'm like, but you're not understanding. That's what Tejano is. Like, yeah. Every artist has their own forte of what they implement into their music. Look at Jay. I mean, he implements R&B. Yeah. Ram implements country. Me, I do country. I implement mariachi. I do a little bit of like rock and journey and stuff like that in my show. So it's like, yeah.
Honestly, when I talk about Tejano, I tell people it's honestly the music of Texas culture. Like it's gonna tell you from the beginning, like from the German settlement through like the building of, or the just like the migration of the people. Like it's gonna have that influence, and that's what Tejano is. It's just a beautiful, lyrical, and expressive history of Texas. Like that's just honestly what it is. Like I think I'm just super passionate about Tejano music. But
that's me. Like, that's me. I take it very personal. When people like you were saying, Jorge, that they were saying Tejano's dead. I take it very personal, and it pisses me off. I'm like, well, it's dead, but yet I'm working every weekend. It's like, how is that? But I don't know. It would take a lot to really educate everyone. But when I was with Sony, which is a major company, they just wanted to put me in regional Mexican and have me stay there. I really fought for, my going to Nashville, and Vince Gill came across my path, and that's how that happened. But I don't know. I just feel like we need to fight for a little bit more. There's a lot of times where we get, promoters call us and they want us to go for this money, and we're like,
pennies on the dollar.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but well, now that I only have one more year to go. It's like I don't wheel and deal. This is what it is, and this is take it. I mean, but I've had a couple of events, and one not that long ago with a local bar that, of course, they were trying to be slick and getting all of these artists, and I'm talking about top artists, Ram, Sonny, that are big artists, and trying to be slick. And then here I go, and I'm like, I call them out and grow the balls, and then everybody's like, yeah, Shelly, tell him. So there I am, like vouching for everybody. And then everybody winds up doing the show anyway, not me. I'm like, you see, that's why they do it, because you let them. you let them do that. And we have to just kind of stand our ground a little bit more with people, especially veteran artists. I can't say new artists have a leg to stand on just yet, because they still got to, prove themselves.
Go through the ropes.
I mean, you do have to have an event where you have new artists, but you do have to have a well-known name.
Yeah.
That's going to attract people to come. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they're like, yeah, but we always have to open up at like 5 PM. I'm like, welcome to the music business.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
A spot right before the headliner when you're starting.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you're bringing your own speaker and microphone.
It's like, I'm like, and I'm not trying to be mean when I'm telling them, but I'll tell them, look, this is part of paying your dues. This is part of what you got to do to get there.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen,
Yeah. And I'll end the Tejano talk with, not the Tejano talk, but with the talking about it dying. I'll end it in my brother's words, drunk words. As long as you play Tejano, Tejano never dies.
So I know you said when you were speaking earlier, you said, this is my last year. So why is this the last year?
To answer your question, Victor, I knew as a young girl that, music, of course, was my beautiful gift from God that, I'm so very thankful for. I mean, it's provided for me for 40 years, I've been all over the world. I've met thousands and thousands of people. I've played with amazing musicians in Tejano music. But I knew that there was more to me than just, and growing up, touring, I was still, because I left right out of high school. Like I went, I was touring on the weekends, but I went full time right out of high school, like full time every weekend, like touring out. Because when I was with that local band, they just wanted to stay here. The furthest we went actually was like Dallas. I was the furthest we would go.
Oh, wow.
And, but I knew that I didn't want to stay just in San Antonio. That's why I quit the band and I went on my own. But I knew that when I was on the road, I started studying. I studied fitness and nutrition. I did physical therapy aid. I was trying to find what else I was passionate about outside of music. And then, after studying those things, I was like, man, still not really. There's still something in me that I feel like God is wanting me to do more. I don't know what it is yet. And then my father got sick and, my mom and I became his caretaker. And I was like, I just found it so easy. And I started thinking, oh, maybe I should be a nurse. Maybe I should help people like that, because I love helping people. Anyone in this industry that you ask would tell you that I'm always one of the first go-to artists that people come to, because I like to help people. And so I started God planted that seed in me. And 6 years, which was in 2016, when the year my father died, he and I had a conversation, and I was like, Dad, I think I know what I want to do next. And he's like, well, what is it? And I said, I think I want to be a nurse. I think that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. He goes, well, if that's what you're passionate about, then that's what you need to do. Because I knew I didn't want to be on the road in my 60s and 70s. And, people ask me why. I mean, I'm in my prime. I can bust out another 10 albums if I wanted to. I can still be on the road if I wanted to. But I felt, okay, I'm going to celebrate 40 years next year. I'm 50. I just turned 50.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah.
To do something that I'm passionate about, right? So I was like, and I'm kind of tired of being on the road. I've done it since I was 10 years old. And so that's when I made the decision. Then in 2016, I went and I toured the actual nursing school I wanted to go to. And I was ready. Like, I was like, okay, this is it. And here I was like a dummy thinking, oh, Shelly, you could be on the road and go to nursing school.
Yeah.
You guys know, y'all went to college. You know what is, it's very hard to work and go to school, right?
Right.
And so I'm the type of person, like, I don't like to have one foot here and one foot here. I like to like
Yeah,
100
all in.
all, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, then I started getting super busy on the road. Like I was on the road, my album was doing well. And then COVID hit and I was still okay, you know? But that's when I was watching TV and I saw the nurses and I was like, that's it. God is the time. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt. So I made the decision to say, hey, this is going to be 2022 is my last year. I'm going to start school summer next year. And this is going to be the next career that I'm going to take on.
Are you saying you're gonna be a nurse now?
I'm going to go to nursing school because I want to be in hospice. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Was the
That's
decision.
a hospice experience is a beautiful experience, and not a lot of people have that
No.
that want or yearn for.
You have to be spiritually and emotionally strong. You have to be totally understanding with the transition of life after death.
Yes.
And to me, it's the beginning, right? And being there with my father on his last breath, yeah, that was my father. That was my family, right? So you're thinking, oh, you could do it for your family, but can you do it for someone else? Which is why a lot of people didn't know that 5 years ago when I talked to my father about going to nursing school, as if I wasn't busy enough, I decided to do caretaking twice a week.
Oh,
So
wow.
I became a caretaker because I wanted to make sure that I was okay with caring for someone outside my family. I knew I was going to love it, and I did. I fell in love with it. I treated my patients with, I treated them like they were glass, and I cared for them on every level. And my last patient that I had for 3 years, her husband wasn't even my patient, and he just wanted me, and he was in hospice. And I was the one he wanted. So I was there for a lot of different, and a few of my patients were in hospice when I cared for them. So I saw what it is. And, I saw them take their last breaths and, transition. So even more so, I knew it. I was like, this is it. This is what God is calling me to do. I just feel that as a human being, I feel like there's more for me to do.
Yeah. And that's the beauty about being a human, isn't it? That
Yes.
we're constantly adapting and evolving, and
Yes.
there's no restriction on who we can be and who we can grow to be.
Yeah. And they're like, because, if I have to, because music is rewarding. Okay. Like y'all said, it's built memories for you. Right. So that's like to me, that is the root of why I've done music, because I've helped create memories for people through my music. Okay. Whether they were depressed, whether they were getting married, whether they were just partying with their family, they were playing my music, whether they were driving in their cars, singing at the top of their lungs. I was part of their lives. My music has become part of people's lives regardless, and it will always be part of Tejano music history. But if I have to say, when people say, but why are you going to give that up, to be a nurse? I'm like, because if at the end of the day, all I'm remembered for is music, I didn't do something right. Me. And I just feel like God has really, really planted this passion. And I don't feel like you have to really know something in order to do it. I feel like you can see something that you want to and learn it and do it. But people have their minds programmed that they can only do one thing in life. Just like you said, Victor, you could do whatever you want to do. Your life is God gave us this life to do whatever we want, and hopefully people do it positively, but not everybody does. Some people go their whole life without living to their fullest potential as a human being. And I don't want to do that. I feel like there's a lot more room for me to grow. Is it scary? Absolutely. I mean, I haven't been in school in over 30 years. I mean, it's like, but I'm not going to let that stop me. It's just, I'm not going to let my fear and hesitation, stop me from living the next dream. but I have life goals outside of music. I do, definitely.
And
Do you think
here's
you're
the crazy thought that I'm kind of like thinking about right now as you're saying all this. A lot of, and when you said like, I can't believe you're gonna, people are saying, I can't believe you're gonna give this up. You hear a lot of times of the people that give up their day job for a passion that they have, and then they make it big.
Mhm.
You're kind of on the opposite end of this, where you've
Yes.
made it big, you've lived this crazy career, talented career, uh, and then you're gonna go ahead and do something selfless and help others. Which, by the way, who knows how many thousands or millions of people you've helped through your music alone.
Yeah.
Um, so even like just talking to Monica Saldivar, like um, just hearing their conversations through text, the way she speaks about you and the help that you've provided for her, like it just speaks, I don't know, beyond words to like what you've probably done for people and you don't even know already. So
Well,
it's
I
crazy.
get a lot of messages from people telling me, whether they were, alcoholics or whatever, and my music helped them through their, you know, through their process of getting better and sober. I've had people tell me that they've, been suicidal and they listen to my music and it makes them feel better. I've had young kids who are gay and afraid to tell their families and they reach out to me. I mean, I get these messages, trust me. And, music is very therapeutic. Absolutely. When I had my patients, I was always playing music for them, not necessarily my music, but I was just playing music for them. And, just to see how healing it is. Yes, it's still, that's still a gift that I'm going to still have. It's not going to go away. It's
yeah.
always going to be a passion, and I'm still going to be on the sidelines, to be mentor. I'm still going to be producing. I'm still going to be writing, which is really what I enjoy more. If you're talking about the music, I would rather be producing and arranging and writing music in the studio rather than being on stage. I'll take that any day over being on stage. Not that I don't enjoy being on stage, but I love the creative process. I love starting something from the beginning and hearing how it just evolves. So I'm still going to do that later on after I get my feet wet in nursing. I still own my own record labels, so I have plans on, working with other artists and stuff like that later on down the line. But right now, I really have to do this for me first, as far as schooling.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to college. I did. As a kid, I wanted to go to college, but God took me in on the road university, like I call it. And that's where I learned everything I know. And I'm so glad I did, because it really has taught me perseverance, resilience, strength, determination. And who knows, if I would have been this strong had I taken another path early on in life. But I couldn't ignore the calling I had for music at the time. And I'm so glad I did it, because like I said, I mean, my music will be part of Tejano music history in its own way. My music will always live on in this genre.
Well, Shelly, I said I was going to honor your time commitments. I feel like there's so much more to still talk about. Um, the other thing before I let you go, like if you're waiting for my permission, but I want to talk about how we can help promote women, not just in Tejano, but like in any kind of genre, but for sure because something that when I was reading about you, you're a big promoter of women in Tejano, and so I just want to know how we can help that out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys reaching out, doing these interviews, bringing the spotlight to the artists is very important. Because they if they're fans of your podcast, and they're like, well, who is this person that you're bringing on? There's so many talented ones, and that's another way not only for people to hear the music, but for them to gain the experience of doing interviews and whatnot. Because one of the things that Shell Shock Records 3 is my label that I own. And I always said that when the day comes that I sign my first artist, they're going to know the ins and outs of every element that has to go into being an artist. They're not just the glam and the taking pictures and the social media. I'm talking about the business aspect, song publishing, songwriting, and the list goes on, doing interviews, all these things, how to promote yourself. But I think the more that you guys kind of, incorporate some of the women into your podcast whenever you can, I think it's a big help. We always say call and request the music. And we've always heard people say, well, they call and request, but then they say they don't have it. So we run into that problem as well. But I can honestly say that I'm very proud of the movement, if you will, that has taken place in this genre, because we have been overshadowed so much. I mean, there's a lot of us, and a lot of us are good. Stephanie Montiel, Eddie Darreina have been in this industry over 25 years apiece. So, it's important that fans know this and get through it, because Selena is such a huge force.
Mhm.
And not that she's competed with us, but we've all gotten overshadowed by that, because people think, oh, of course there's only going to be one.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not here trying to be like her, just like there's only going to be one Monica Saldívar, there's only going to be one Ellie, there's only going to be one Shelly. We're all different. We're all different. And that's what I love about the women right now. It's because all of the women are different. They all have something to bring to the table. And I tell the girls, you're all queens. We're all queens.
Yeah.
And we all deserve to get a shot at being heard. And that's when I use my voice, when it comes to how long I've been in the business, how respected I am. And I don't do it ugly, but sometimes it takes me calling that station and that program director and saying, hey, so-and-so said they sent you the music, what's happening? And they'll be like, oh, Shelly, well, okay. And they add it, but not everybody is willing to be helpful.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, but I'm just responsible for me, and all I can speak is for myself. But continue to, like I said, involve them into your podcast if you can. And, the more people hear and see the girls, the better, but they got to do their part too. They have to promote themselves. And I work every day at my career. Just because I've been doing it almost 40 years doesn't mean that I stop. Consistency is key. I tell the girls, you have to be consistent. You have to stay relevant in this game. You always have to give the fans something to look forward to. And I've just been very blessed that my fans and I have a great rapport. I'm very open with my fans. I've never tried to, hide who I am, whether it's me on stage or me off stage or my personal life, which you don't have to bring people into your personal life. You really don't.
Right.
But they got to do their part too and promote themselves. So hopefully they will.
You said one thing that I was actually before I had asked this question about women in Tejano, I had asked my wife, how do I transition? Because I want to be able to transition to that conversation of women in Tejano. And I had this thought of making a joke first about Chris Perez being in your band and then going to Selena's. And so I was like, whoa, maybe she was the one that truly discovered Chris Perez.
We were. No, it wasn't a joke. We did.
Well, there it is. Jen, if you're watching this, see? I was right.
Did. A lot of fans, knew how close we were, and, that we'd been friends since we were 10 years old. And I'm very selective on things that I talk about because, first of all, that was my friend. And some of those memories are just my memories and always meant to stay my memories.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I never want people to feel like I'm trying to capitalize on our friendship, because I don't need to do that. Okay,
Right.
I've done.
There's enough of that.
Yeah, and really, the one she asked me not to use was, I've always wondered this, and even before meeting Monica and talking to her about Tejano and women in Tejano, I always wondered if women weren't so prominent in Tejano or haven't had a hard time in it, was it because Selena just overshadowed everybody? And obviously I've never had anybody to ask that, or
Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. Not that she didn't deserve to be on the top, because, as we know, I mean, her talent was amazing, right? But in all fairness, there were a lot of things, if you're talking about artist to artist, okay? Not the names, we're talking artist to artist. There were a lot of things she didn't do that some of us have done.
Mhm.
For one, she didn't play instruments. Okay. Two, she didn't record country music. There's a lot of things that, in all fairness, if you want to, if people, but then when you compare artists, it's like comparing apples to oranges. Okay. You have two separate things.
yeah.
But she came from the name, and her at that time, she had a very powerful record company. Her father, was a very powerful man. So of course he wasn't going to allow any of us to skyrocket. Okay. That wasn't going to happen. Not on their time. So, of course, a lot of us got overshadowed. Not just me, but I mean, a lot of us did. And I mean, again, it's not to say that we're knocking her and that she didn't deserve to, but a lot of us have done. But remember, you cannot forget this. Yes, she's still, her legacy is still breaking down barriers and creating such a fan base that is worldwide. But in everyone's eyes, she's still 23. Okay. And here we are. I'm 50. She'd be 50 right now.
Yeah.
And we're still doing the damn thing. You know what I mean? So we're still out there doing it as well. But as far as Chris, he joined my band in 87, 88. And he came from Jefferson High School. He went to school with my cousin Tony. And when my father was putting our band together, Daddy said that he wanted guys that we can mold, that we could teach Tejano. So he found Chris and a couple of other guys. And, Chris didn't know a lick of shit from, he didn't know nothing about Tejano. He didn't know how to strum. He didn't know how to strum. He didn't know how chord progressions, but he was a very good musician. So, we actually sat down and went over, strumming techniques when it came to rancheras and cumbias. And that's when they first met. Like in passing, like, hey, this is crazy, blah, blah, blah. They were not interested in each other at all until way later. But that's one of the things that it's so hard when you have like the series and the movie and the books and blah, 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 is that they're very Hollywood. Okay. So you cannot believe every single thing that you read and hear. Okay. So he did not go from me to her. I've never watched the movie. I've never watched the series. I've never read a book. Okay. Why? When I was there.
Yeah. Firsthand.
That's why I don't read books either.
Writing about someone, it's but when I did hear about this series that came out, and I got wind that I was going to be part of this series, I'm not going to lie, guys, it made me a little nervous. Because I was like, well, who's going to speak on our behalf as friends other than me?
Yeah.
Who was there?
They want to pit you against each other.
Exactly. And so, I was like, man, I will tell you this. I mean, I'm not 10 years old anymore. Like when we met, okay, I'm an adult, I'm a woman. And it was like, it better not be false. It better not be negative. If it was going to be parts of our friendship, you see what I'm saying? And so I was like, I was ready, man. I was like, I was going to speak up, to be honest. I really was. If that was going to happen, which it didn't. But I know in the series they made it seem like AB was trying to take Chris from us, and but he didn't. He actually was with me for about a couple of years, and went with Albert Tiger Diaz, who was with La Sombra, and then he went with Patsy Torres, and then he went with Selena, which was a few years later.
Yeah.
But to mention that because everybody does. They're like, oh, he took her. They took her from you, took him from you, and I'm like, no, guys, that's not how it happened. It didn't happen that way.
The Latino want for dramatization. We like a good telenovela.
But it's kind of boring. But and I know they want me to share things, and I'm like, but what kind of a friend would I be?
Yeah.
I shared things that she confided in me, and that's dumb. I would never do that. But yeah, we definitely did bring him into this game, and he, there's been times where he has said, yeah, that had it not been for our band, that he wouldn't have married her, he wouldn't have been in this industry, and all of these things. But I mean, he's no doubt a very talented guy. I mean, an amazing musician, that's for sure.
For sure. Shelly, before we ask you that final question, I know we're getting really close to your time, but I know there's a new album out, and is it LMD 82?
LMD 82. Well, I was called Shelly Lares, and then they called me Little Miss Dynamite. And I was like,
Oh.
like, that's so long. I was like, I wanted to abbreviate everything. So I went to LMD, Little Miss Dynamite. So LMD is Little Miss Dynamite. 82 is the year I started in Tejano. Nice. So, and I will tell you this, I'm very heavily influenced by Wonder Woman. Okay. I am a Wonder Woman fanatic. So when I saw WW84, I was like, oh yeah, we got to do LMD 82 so we can name the album. From, since it's the final album, I went back to my orquesta influence. It was just, everything was full circle. Here we go with the evolution of music. But, had I not evolved, I wouldn't have had Ganas de Besarte. I wouldn't have had Soy Tu Amor if I'd have stayed just doing orquesta music. But no, I go back and do a little bit of, it's all brass oriented as far as, the instrumentation of what we're doing on the album. But but the songs are different styles. Like I did Sal Si Puedes, which was originally a big band from the 30s. The song was originally done in 1937. So I brought that back because I love big band music. See, that's another influence of mine. I redid Mil Besos, which was one of my biggest hits in 2000. I did it the original version, which is a bolero from 1954, if not early, which has the feel of Los Panchos. It's a bolero. Then I did straight up Tejano rancheras, cumbias, and then I did an R&B song that has brass in there as well because I love doing rock and Bonnie Raitt style type songs.
Oh, nice.
So it's a little bit of everything, but it is on my website. You can if you still like the physical copies, the hard CDs, which a lot of our Tejano fans, speaking of the change of Tejano, we're kind of like in the middle still. We still have fans that want that CD.
Yeah. Hey, I still have the list, the little car pack in my of CDs.
There you go. I mean, and cassettes are coming back, y'all. I mean,
I'm not gonna do cassettes. I still
and actually where I manufacture my music, they were telling me that they're pretty high in demand right now. And I was like, wow, okay. But this is the final album. So it is on my website, which is shellylares.online. Or you can download it on all digital platforms as well. But that's what it stands for. Little Miss Dynamite 82.
Nice. LMD. And the final tour is running all the way through December 2022.
New Year's Eve. That'll
New
be the
Year's
last
Eve.
hurrah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Wow.
Are
I'm
you
working
coming
out a
to
couple of
Dallas?
things. I know. Yes. I mean, of course, with Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex has always been one of my strongest areas, continues to be. Of course, we're going to hit the area next year. And, still putting a lot of things together. I'm being very, very, very selective on my shows for next year. It's not going to be like, how we were every weekend. It's going to be only the top notch, monies, of course, and shows is what we're going to do. I mean, I'm heading out of state next year. I'm going to Colorado and stuff like that. And probably my last year in Vegas. So I'll be doing Vegas again one more year. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I'm going to miss it. I mean, hello. I've done it since I was 10. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to miss it. I'm like, well, duh. I mean, yeah.
For sure.
But life goes on, man. I mean, we gotta, I'm ready for the next chapter of my life. That's really what I'm ready for.
And the next chapter is full of selfless helping other people. And that's such an amazing thing that you're doing. Truly appreciate it. I appreciate your time here. There's one more question. I know we're cutting real short, but
That's okay.
Victor, would you do the honors?
What, Shelly Lares, will you tell us your too hard, too fast story?
Oh man, I have so many of them. Oh gosh. Well, I love to tell road stories. A lot of people don't really know what happens to us on the road, but I'm going to tell you a little cheese. Since Victor was wanting to know cheese, man.
I like a telenovela.
Well, we have a lot of Grupo Mas fans, Grupo Mas, La Mafia, La Sombra were the three big Tejano bands that I toured with when I first went full time on the road. I opened up for them. And our first, I met Mas, I met Joe Lopez and Jimmy when I was 10 years old, 11. We did a song that was kind of like We Are the World. It was called Somos Tejanos. And I was standing next to him. I was 10 or 11. I was been very short for my age. And I remember I started singing and he like, man, you got a strong voice for being so small. And then later on, I opened up for them. But our first performance together was in Eagle Pass.
Eagle Pass, mi gente.
That's why I had to say this story because it happened there. What was the name of the ballroom? There was two, Moonlight, and there was another one.
Oh man, no, something.
Okay.
No.
But it was back in the day, so
we only had two.
Okay, so not Moonlight, but the other one.
The other
okay.
one.
And so we opened up, and at this time, this was 1990. So I had a really good hit called Ojitos Negros that Eagle Pass, man, they freaking played that song all the time. So we were excited, we were opening up for Mas, and this time we were driving a school bus. We were in a school bus.
Oh, wow.
And father, halved it. The front half, mom and I sat on lawn chairs, and he like a flatbed where the guys would just lay and we would lift up the thing and put the suitcases underneath. And in the back was our equipment, right? So here we go pulling up in our school bus fast, and we're playing and the fans are dancing. And, Mas at the time, they used to have 250 freaking lights, dude. Big old system, right? Well, they were generous enough to let us use 4 lights. And 2 green, puro Christmas.
Yeah.
At this, and so not even aiming at us, right? So we're in the dark, we're jamming, right? So we're playing, and all of a sudden they keep telling us, keep playing because they're not here yet. Keep playing because they're not. And we're like, as we learned later, that was their routine. Okay, they would show up late. So we keep playing. Well, then the dance floor is packed, and so their roadie turns on the fog machine, right? Doesn't turn it off. So we can't see nothing. We can't see each other. We can't see the fans. All of a sudden, everybody in Eagle Pass starts getting their hands and like banging on the table that they couldn't see us, right? So literally, y'all, I'm not just figuratively speaking. I'm talking literally. When the smoke cleared, my father is right in front of the stage, and he just goes, right?
That-
So I'm playing. And he's like, Vamonos, we're gonna these damn it. I mean, you're talking all kinds of words came from my mouth. And he's like, just grab all the cords, grab everything, we're leaving. And so we're like, all freaking out and we're carrying everything, we're throwing everything in the school bus. And then here they come in this beautiful, brand new, shiny bus. And they pull up and my dad's eyeballing that bus, man. He's like, just looking. And don't you know that, they parked, their security, standing by the door. My father goes over there, pushes the security guard out of the way, opens their bus, and we can see in the bus because their lights are on at this time. So we see my father like going in the bus, and pobrecito Jimmy, God rest your soul, Jimmy. He was sitting, and all I see is my father like comes out, and he's like, "Let's get out of here." And my dad like did a like freaking donuts in that parking lot. We were hanging out in the school bus and stopped, and we parked, and he's like, all right, guys, let's go fix everything in the back. And he's like, nobody's going to treat my daughter like that. Nobody's going to do that to you. And the moral of the story is we, don't underestimate the opening band, because the following week we played in Dallas. And, I don't know, it was
One
a
more
club
time?
it was called La Bamba. It was on Lemon Street. And it used to be an old like gym, I guess, because it had a swimming pool, and that was where people would go dance down there. And so anyway, we had to play with them again. And we had our equipment set up. So we were going to use our own stuff this time. Well, their equipment truck broke, and guess whose equipment they had to use?
Oh, wow.
They never did it to us again. After that, we all became really good friends, and the respect level, but you have to kind of stand your ground. But I just had to share an Eagle Pass and a Dallas story because it's so ironic that that's one of my stories, and both of y'all are you're from there, and you're there. So but,
that is perfect. That's the perfect way to end this podcast episode. Shelly Lares, one more time, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yes.
So with that, people, check out her last album. Check her out on her final tour. She's doing it big.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go big for the last one, right?
Yeah, gotta go. And everybody's sad, but don't be sad, I mean, like I said, my music's going to be here, and I'm going to be on the sidelines still. You might hear me. I'm doing a lot of collaborations right now, so I have a lot of a few of them coming out, and you'll still hear it. But yeah, visit my website. I do want you guys to go check it out. I'll be having some new merchandise up on the website next week. It's shellylares.online. And that's one of the things. Yeah, we got caps, we have koozies, we have t-shirts, and you can buy the actual hard copy CD as well if you want it.
Awesome. Speaking of koozies, only the guest get koozies.
Yay!
So offline, or I'll message you and give me a good address. I'll send them out to you. We don't have merchandise for sale or anything like that yet, but
well, I like your shirt. That's a nice shirt.
Thank you. Actually, I have a shirt for Monica that I need to give her. So,
you still haven't given her? Tell her she's going to be in San Antonio this weekend. I'm going to let her know.
I told her she would be the only one, but you know what? For Shelly Lares, I will make another exception and make one for you as well.
Everybody likes to send me their merch, and I always wear it, and they're like, where'd you get that? So I'll send people over to whoever I'm wearing. I refer them to whatever they're doing, and it always works. So you get free advertisement.
Perfect. So I'll make one. I'll send it to you as well.
Okay.
With that said, Victor, last words?
Shelly, huge fan. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this conversation, Jorge. Shelly, I love your stories, and I'm a fan. I'm going to continue listening, farewell or not.
Well, I do want to tell y'all though that I am releasing my Christian album next year. that more is only more so like my ultimate thank you to God for giving me the opportunity to do music for so long. So that's more of my little gift, my gift to him, to sing and praise his name through music. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. But no, like I said, you're going to be hearing collaborations still, I'm sure. They're trying to squeeze them out of me before I retire. Everybody's like, can we do collaboration? Can we do collaboration? Can we do so? Like, I even did a rap collaboration the other day. So
oh, wow.
like,
I want to hear Shelly Lares rap.
I didn't rap. I just wrote.
No, cannonball or nothing. Vamos a ver.
I don't think I can do that. I can write the beats and I can write the music, the hook, but not the rapping part. But thank you guys so much for having me on. And it was a pleasure talking to y'all. Thank you for real for supporting Tejano and for loving it so much. And we can't do it with people like you guys. You're keeping it alive and doing it through the new age of technology with the podcast, which can reach, out of the world, which is amazing. So continued success for the show and to you guys individually and your families. And, God willing, I'll get to see y'all out on the road.
Amen.
For sure. And sorry I missed you on your big 5-0 celebration.
That's all right.
My son was getting his first haircut in a long time.
Oh.
But with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Cheers. Cheers.
Boring stuff.
Yeah. This is just sweet tea.
Yeah. See you guys later. I don't know. I already messed up the whole closure, but I appreciate it. Bye.
Very nice meeting you, Shelly. I'm
God
going to be
bless
looking out for your tour dates because I'm going to go.
Yeah, please go. And go
compro boleto y todo. I don't want a freebie. I'm going to go. I'm going to ticket. Yeah.
But thank you guys. Y'all take care, okay?
Yes.
No problem.
Blessings. Bendición.
God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.